in most of the organizations, if you see, you have specialized organizations which have the products which are already mapped to the frameworks. So if you try to do too much of customizations to the tool, for example, let's say a remedy, which is an incident management tool or a problem management tool or a change management tool, these tools are already mapped to the industry good practices and the best practices. They are already aligned to the frameworks. So I don't think so. There is a need to reinvent the wheel because the processes are already mapped well to these tools. So it's like reinventing the overall process once again, which you have already paid to a vendor who's already done that on your behalf well. So I don't think so that there is a need to mold the tool as such. If you are starting, your processes are at an immature level, rather than trying to customize the tool, you customize your processes and see that your frameworks align to the best practices which are popular in the industry, which are already embedded into the tool provided by the industry leaders. That's what is the key, I think.
Your thinking is wrong. Why? Because if you say that a tool has been made in a well-defined manner and it is already there into the market and it is based upon the best practices, what is the need of implementing the processes or changing the tool, then I am strictly against it. Because the tool is always made, and it's not only about tool, any other technology, any other framework. And since we are talking about tools, so I'll focus on that. When it is based upon the best practices, considering the fact that this is a generic framework and it will be suitable to most of the part of the industry. In case if there is a change, we should try and ensure that the processes which are implemented for that tool are such that least customization or justified customizations is required to be made. Because if we just take a tool and put it into the client's place, what is the need of having a process consultant? Why is the client paying for the process consultant? There is no need of having a process consultant in place, number one. Number two, if you are just going to take a vanilla image of the tool and putting it as it is to the client base, you are not doing any kind of justice as far as the point is of understanding the environment of the client. Because you need to understand the client's environment and suggest that, sir, this is the tool which you have bought, but this needs to be customized adhering to your requirements, which will ensure that it will result into the best outputs for you. So you cannot just directly go and say that this is the tool, you can go and use it. What is the use of that? If that is the case, Remedy or HP Service Manager, ServiceNow or any other tool manufacturing companies, they would have wiped out. They have made the tool and now they are sleeping. It will go on for 2 years until a change is required. A tool is not something which you can go and just put it into the place. You need to customize it to ensure that it is actually meeting the requirement of the client. If you don't do that, what is the use of having that tool or a process into the place? You don't need process, you don't need a framework.
You are saying whenever you implement a tool like, let's say, BMC incident management or BMC change management, the underlying philosophy of the change management is the change are well captured, recorded, the change are approved by the CAP, so you define the CAP. So, when you are talking about a certain amount, of changes, it might be permissible, but to what extent you are going to change that software or that business process is basically you defeat the purpose of. So what do? You take a BMC software, fine, and you do 80% of customization, and then you waste the product. So it's like utilizing SAP, doing sales order management, and you say, okay, we have been doing this from the past 20 years in this certain way. So let me change SAP sales order management the way I want. So what is the purpose of buying a good product like SAP order management? You could have done it through your legacy application, build a VB application or a client server application rather than going to SAP. They have standardized, they have invested thousands. These companies. Hello. So what I'm trying to say, Mohit, is one example which you gave that what is the need of a process consultant. I might or might not have a need to hire a process consultant. It really depends on my need. If I really want to do an implementation which I do not believe BMC has given me rightly so. Or for an example, why would you? If I'm going for
I'm interrupting you. Give me an example. Why do you need a process consulting if I am going to take out of the box image and going to implement it?
That's what I'm saying. I don't need a consultant.
So I don't say you mean to say that there is no process consultant required altogether. Is that what you are trying to say?
I'm saying I would judiciously see it is not 100% that in all the cases where I'm implementing an incident management or a change management or a problem management, I would hire somebody as a process consultant. No.
In what cases?
It is not mandatory. It is not mandatory.
Okay. It is not mandatory that you will not hire, but what are the cases when you will want the process consultant to be hired? Can you lay some focus on that?
If I know that my processes are not working after implementation of a particular software, only then I would like to know and go more in detail why this particular process is not working. I pay, for example, my incident management data tells me that maybe the SLA compliance is very low, fine. Or maybe the aging of the incidents or problems is very high, people are not linking problems to the changes, so there could be a number of problems.
Sir,
so if
let me interrupt you. Why I am saying this is, you are talking about a procedural consultant, not a process consultant. A process consultant designs the framework based upon which the functionality of the tool and the workflows are defined. The things which you are talking about, that SLAs are not met, that is a procedural problem, and we define the standard operating procedures within the organization to do that.
So a standard operating procedure will not identify or will not be able to identify these problems or rectify these problems.
Okay, who will do that?
For me, a procedural consultant or a process consultant, I don't know. When we are talking about a product, I'm talking about a product expert. You call it a procedural expert or you call it a process expert.
Okay, let's talk product expert.
When I'm talking about my problems, if let's say as a change manager, if I see the changes are not getting implemented correctly, there are unforeseen risks when the changes are done, there are a lot of rollback of the changes happening in the company, I would like to go to an expert to understand what is the real problem.
What will the expert do? What will the expert do?
The expert may come and analyze the data and give an outside view, external view to the company.
Can you give an example that something like this happened based upon your experience, and the expert, that is a product expert or a process expert, whatever it is, what did he did actually?
See, we are deviating from the topic.
No, I am coming to the point that the need
for a debate whether a consultant is required or not.
No, it is
what we are going to discuss is not whether we require a consultant or not. What I am saying is the point you are making that we need to have a consultant who will tell me.
I am saying that
I'm sorry, I don't require a consultant.
No, okay. Don't need a consultant. We need a product person.
What the point I was trying to make?
What we need is
just 1 minute. I'll tell you. These companies, for example, what you are telling to me is you implement a SAP process and then you customize it so heavily and make it a legacy application.
No, I never said that.
We have been doing it like that from the past 20 years. We will continue to customize SAP in such a way that my previous experience is maintained in SAP as well. What I am saying is, if SAP has done thousands and lakhs of implementation based on the standard process engineering, why not use SAP's experience when you are
paying SAP for a particular product. Similarly, for a company like BMC who has done thousands of implementation on incident management and change management, why would I do 80% of customer?
I'll tell you the reason. If you allow me to speak for 2 minutes, I'll tell you the reason. So the reason is very simple, and we need a person. You call it a process consultant, you call it a product consultant, you call it anyone, be it anyone, I don't know. But we need someone to make sure that the product which is there, which is launched as a vanilla image in the client side, needs to have an improvement, and that improvement can be done only by a person who has a complete functional knowledge of the process along with the technical knowledge of the tool. And if that product is customized, and you said heavily customized, I am not talking about heavy customization. I am not talking about change the face of remedy to any other thing. I am not saying that change the name of remedy to rectification. I am just talking about making few changes which actually adheres and respects the requirement of the client. And I'll give you examples for that. For change management, we know that there are 3 standard changes which we have. That is a standard change, a normal change, and an emergency change. There was a scenario when, the client came up and they said that we have, based upon our requirements, sometimes we get an ad hoc request for changes. I said, if ad hoc request of changes is there, it should be treated as a normal change. I cannot have an ad hoc request of changes until unless that is an emergency change which actually fixes the break-fix issues. They said, no, that is the requirement. So what we said was that, okay, in that case, we will make a category of changes and that should be named as an expedited changes. Now, expedited change doesn't mean that if on time I forward to raise a change request, I can raise an expedited change request to immediately implement it. I said that they should have a proper justification in a place and there should be a tab which justifies the requirement. Based upon that, you can implement those expedited changes. Now, it captures the requirement of the client. And, by the way, the person who was making those changes in that particular tool on the BMC side, because we were process people, that was the BMC guy himself. We wrote them a mail, we asked them, is this ethical to do for your requirements? They said, Mohit, it is actually important because that needs customer, fulfills the needs of the customer, and also it caters the requirement of the tool. It doesn't challenges or breaks the back-end workflows of the tool. So this is one scenario, and I can give you 10,000 scenarios based upon my experience. Now, I didn't change the face of the change management console altogether. I did a small change, a customization, and along with that, there were a few more customizations done. So I am just trying to make sure that we are molding the service management tool along with the process which is made to keep in a central view that the respect of the tool, its architecture is not flawed, and also it is also meeting the customer requirement. In case if that is challenging the back-end architecture of the tool, we would forcefully tell the client that, sir, this is against the ethics of the tool, we will not do it. So I am pretty clear, and I am not talking about 80% customization, 100% customization.
The example you have taken, Mohit, can you tell me who is approving these ad hoc changes?
Who is approving these ad hoc changes? I'm sorry? Those expedited changes you are talking about.
Customization example.
Yes, the approving authority, the approval matrix was based upon the product catalog which we defined, and that product catalog approval matrix.
As you said, you have 3 categories of changes: a normal change, fine, and an emergency change,
Yes.
and what you missed in the tool was an ad hoc change. So in cases of ad hoc change, who is controlling these changes? Who is approving these
Yes,
changes?
that's what. See, now the question is, and that's what we did. The approving authority was same as that of the normal changes, but before approving that, there was a proper justification which was required and a tab which was supposed to be updated in the tool. Why? Because today, if on time I forgot to raise the normal changes, it should not be like, since I forgot